Hi, we are the Gold Stars, or Students Teaching and Advocating for Research in STEM. I'm Bailey Bergman.
I'm Chelsea Higgins.
I'm Maram El-Geneidy.
It has been proven that rural students tend to be at a disadvantage when it comes to STEM education. The students mostly have limited course options in STEM, and the courses that they do have are severely underfunded. Teachers have to work harder to find resources, specifically resources that are free, if they want to provide quality STEM education to their students. Now, from personal experience, my textbooks were extremely outdated. There was no funding. We hardly ever got to dissect anything. And with the STEM classes I had, most of the time I was one of the only girls. Now, from that experience to college, I basically had no idea what scientists really did. And from conversations with other students and within our group, we found that this was not an isolated experience. We decided that the most direct way to increase STEM education and research awareness, if you will, in rural communities was to actually go to those communities and teach them ourselves. Anyone can be a scientist, regardless of how much or how little science they have in their background. And we wanted to use our own research and our own experiences to help show them that.
For our audience, we targeted middle school aged children and specifically those who went to school districts in rural areas in Iowa and Illinois. We chose to target middle-aged school children specifically because that's an age where experiences can shape future career paths. And we wanted to focus on rural districts because those typically don't have as much funding to STEM programs and STEM education as more industrialized areas like a university city. A pilot for our activities, we joined an after-school program at Horn Elementary, and we actually worked with children aged K through 6. Their attempts to contact middle schools in our local area were not successful. We chose to do activities split up into 3 stations, with each station contributing a little bit to our individual research at university look like. So to start off, we had all the children in a large group as we introduced ourselves and talked about what we would be doing for that day. We rotated in 10 to 15 minute for each activity. Bailey did the Candy DNA activity, which had paper models, and they used Twizzlers and Sour Patches to learn about base pairing and construct their own DNA that they could later take home and eat. And that's shown by this picture on the left. In the middle, I talked about the cardiovascular system, and we played red light, green light with some of the younger kids, and we did running around and jumping jacks with some of the older ones. And I taught them how the heart works, why heart rate can be variable, and I showed them how to measure their own pulse before and after exercise so they could see that and feel the change, and we could talk about why that change exists in the body and how that can be used in research methods. On the very rest, he did an immunology activity with her kids using balloons and gloves that were color-coded to represent how the immune system worked and how it specifically targeted antigens in the body.
And then the COVID hit. We had planned on going to PLT Middle School in Illinois, where Chelsea's mom worked, and also my high school, middle school, West Central here in Iowa, over spring break, but things changed quickly. The weekend before we were supposed to attend, both schools decided to close, and we made plans to reschedule, but things escalated from there. We knew after spring break that the schools would most likely not be going back in person for most of the year, and they ended up canceling altogether. The university also closed down, and this moved all of our contact to online through Zoom and GroupMe, which we used to communicate what we would do next. So this led us to go into a new direction. We decided to focus on our original goal of showing diversity in the STEM fields and giving middle schoolers the message that anyone can do science. We decided to reach out to our fellow Latham fellows and other research student organizations on campus to ask if anyone was interested in doing interviews over Zoom, and then we would post them to our blog page. We also decided to interview each other so that we had our perspectives in there. We ended up interviewing several undergraduates from different areas, including biology, chemistry, and biochemistry. We also decided to post our lesson plans that we had made online so that teachers and parents could access them as they wanted. We also included how each age group reacted so that things could be administered better and changed as needed.
If I had to sum up all of the different things we learned and what went wrong and how we could fix it, I would have 4 main points. The first being many activities can be done with many age groups. During our test run, we didn't actually have any students that were in our target age group or middle schoolers, but the activities still worked. From there, we kind of discovered that with a little modification, most of our activities could work with most age groups. We had focused on the middle schoolers, but the kindergartners responded just as well to the activities, and we got to kind of foster the knowledge of science and research at an earlier age, which was something unexpected. The next would be that you should always plan for the unthinkable. Obviously, none of us thought that at this point in the semester we'd be experiencing a pandemic. So we didn't exactly make a contingency plan. Now, obviously, we shouldn't always plan for a pandemic to happen. But in hindsight, maybe we could have had some sort of like rain check type of plan. So that way, if for whatever reason we couldn't go to the schools in person, we would have some sort of plan for online learning. The next would be flexible when things don't work out. Things changed really, really rapidly. I think if I had to sum up all of the events, it kind of happened within 1 week. So obviously, we had to be really flexible as things were changing. We successfully went in a new direction, but it's worth noting that maybe we could have changed ideas faster. Maybe we could have communicated more. I don't know. But we did have a successful new direction. And finally, always find the silver lining. We were incredibly bummed that we couldn't go to the middle schools in person. That goes without saying. We were really excited for this project. We were excited to communicate with the kids, and that didn't happen. The in real life conversations that we could have had would probably have been amazing. We would have developed a very deep personal interaction and made a lasting impact on these kids. However, we probably would have only impacted around 150 kids, which seems like a lot, but by doing our new interview series and sharing our lesson plans on our blog and website, we are actually providing a lasting resource that teachers can find and use for years to come. We may not be forming personal bonds per se, but our impact is now stretching to a potential of thousands of rural students for years to come, as teachers that we communicate with already, share these resources with their next year of students and the next year and the next year. We're also providing a resource for students that we hadn't even thought to reach out to. Timing was really limited for us to see people in person, so we focused on 3 schools. Now we could have 20 schools look at this stuff. So while it isn't ideal that we had to change our plans, the silver lining here is we're actually creating a more sustainable impact, and we're reaching a lot more people.
And lastly, we'd like to thank all the schools and people that have helped us along this way. So we'd like to thank Horn Elementary for letting us visit their after-school program in early March. And we'd also like to thank West Central Junior High and Prophetstown Middle School for giving us the opportunity to visit, even though we were unfortunately not able to go there. We'd like to thank Alexia Herber for volunteering to take pictures and help us out at Horn Elementary. And we would like to give a big thank you to Lori Adams and Brenda Shetty for their continued support and guidance through this project and through all of its evolution.
All right, we are the Gold Stars, and thank you for watching our presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you.